What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we are going to address the possibility of a monthly gas voucher because there are discussions of a monthly gas voucher. Also going to give you a little bit of a stimulus update here because some are saying, okay, maybe not a monthly gas voucher, but how about a monthly stimulus check? Again, both would be considered stimulus, but one would actually be a check, the other one would be a gas voucher. Again, these things, we hear reports all the time that it starts out as just basic cash to the American people. It goes from cash to more of a voucher or an incentive or something else, right? A bonus, and then it goes more to like a tax credit. So I want to address all those things in today's video. I'm going to touch a little bit on stagflation and how potentially this could be on the horizon. And then we also need to address the new bill that was passed by the House of Representatives just today. So let's get right into it. But the first thing I want to do is explain what is actually being said right now regarding gas prices. We are seeing gas prices somewhat come down, but only about 2 cents, okay? So first, and here's what's crazy about all this. Democrats in no way are to blame for gas prices. That's not a statement coming from me. That's coming from Democrats. It has never been them. It has never been the Democratic way of, okay, we are just going to raise gas prices. That's what we're going to do because, well, it'll just bring in more tax revenue. Here's what you need to understand. In the beginning, when President Biden took office, right, and closed the pipeline, things started to change and things got a little bit more expensive. Well, in the beginning, former President Donald Trump, he was to blame for rising gas prices because of all the stimulus that he provided over the year. And then it turned into, it wasn't really President Trump, it was inflation. Because inflation, which was caused by President Trump, right? According to what Democrats are saying, it was Trump and inflation that's causing gas prices to go up. Well, then it went away from former President Donald Trump, and it wasn't really inflation, it was the American people are spending too much money, which technically is inflation. And then the American people got somewhat of a reprieve because, well, Russia decided to invade Ukraine. And that's when Democrats said, it's not the American people. It's not, really inflation. It's over in Russia. It is President Putin's fault. That was what the discussions were. So finally, in the end, what we have today is, no, it's not Democrats. It's not the American people. It's not really inflation because inflation isn't that bad. What we're seeing is it's the oil companies are charging too much money. Because guess what? And most people don't realize this, but if an oil company, if they want to, raise prices, guess what they do? They just don't pump as much oil. That's all they do. You just don't produce as much. And then guess what? Supply and demand, the principals jump in and, well, if you got too much demand, not enough supply because you're not producing enough oil, guess what? Prices go up. These oil companies make even more money. Even more money. That's what's scary about this is we're at the mercy of oil companies. And one of the craziest parts about all this is that really nothing over the past year was ever about Democrats and it was their fault, right? Democrats caused oil prices to go up. The cancellation of the Keystone pipeline, XL pipeline, right? That little extension. That wasn't part of it. That didn't increase prices. Again, yet Democrats are the ones trying to push for things like this gas tax holiday, even $300 gas vouchers. And now the majority of people are supportive. And when I say majority, I'm not talking about the majority of Congress or the American people. When I say majority, I'm talking about the majority of kind of supporters and sponsors behind this bill. But what we are seeing is that right now there's a proposal for taking the profits away from some of these large oil companies and giving it to the American people. And you could do it through a gas voucher, you can do it through a stimulus check, you can do it through credits if you want to. There's a lot of different ways. But here's what you need to understand. The majority of the supporters support a one-time payment, not a residual monthly check. Now, the good news is that there's still I think it's like a $250 to $300 gas voucher that's still on the table. And what we've heard from And when I say on the table, I'm not talking about President Biden is considering this at this moment. I'm talking about it is being discussed within Congress. That's all that's going on. Now there's active discussions, at least according to the most recent reports. So the good news is they are considering this. The bad news is we don't know how long they could consider this for. Because if we see gas prices come down, then they go back up and come back down, what we're going to see is there's so much uncertainty that nothing would most likely happen. So we'd be sitting in this kind of area of, okay, we pay higher prices, we get a little discount. We pay higher prices, we get a little discount. And it would probably go on for a couple of months at least. So we'll see what happens there. We did hear today that Goldman Sachs is saying that stagflation is here. And they are warning that it could actually hurt a lot of people. Because what stagflation is where we see slow economic growth, we see high unemployment, but it's also coupling that with high inflation. Okay? So right now we have high inflation. And some say it's going to go even higher, but we have high inflation. We are likely experiencing a slow in our economic growth compared to what we've seen definitely over the past couple years. And gas prices remain high. So the expectation is that unemployment is going to go up. Okay? If gas prices stay this elevated, chances are we're going to see the American people stop spending money, which causes an economic slowdown. Okay? But when we see that, people will likely be let go of their jobs. So unemployment will go up. Again, all the ingredients here are pointing towards stagflation, which is not great. This is not something we want to be in. And this is a tough situation to be in. And it's because of this, because of what we're currently experiencing, that many are expecting the Federal Reserve to really raise rates up past 4 to even 5% in order to get inflation under control. And if we see rates above 4%, number one, this is going to cause the housing market to likely cool down very quickly. I don't think we're going to see anything like we saw in 2008. We're not going to see a housing collapse, but I do think we'll see the housing market cool very quickly. Again, we don't know if that's going to happen, but we could. We will see investments into businesses. That will definitely slow down because the business will not be as profitable. They won't be bringing in as much money. So, they will let go of employees, they will reduce their expenses, and their investments will slow down as well. And overall, our economic output is going to pretty much take a hit as well, all right? So just understand, all these things could happen, and it's because of stagflation. Now, let's talk about what the House of Representatives did today, because what we learned was that the House of Representatives, they actually, what they did today is they voted to remove Russia's most favored nation trade status. This bill was actually passed 424 to just 8. I believe it was 8 Republicans, or may have been 7 Republicans and 1 Democrat that voted against it. But that doesn't matter. Even President Biden endorsed this move last week. And now we know that this will be sent over to the Senate, where it is likely to have bipartisan support. This bill will also allow the U.S. to levy fresh taxes on Russian-made goods. This bill will also strip the most favored nation trade away from Belarus as well. This right here, okay, at this time, the United States is doing what they can to try and slow down Vladimir Putin, as his Russian troops are pretty much encircling the Ukrainian capital. Okay, so this is what we are trying to do, is just slow them down. That's really it. Okay, because doing something like this, is it going to pull the troops out of Russia? No, it's not going to do that. Could it potentially slow them down? Yes, it could. And speaking of Russia, today we learned that the U.S. Treasury, and I want your thoughts and input on this, okay? So you can put that down in the comment section below. I'd love to read it. Today we learned that the U.S. Treasury allowed the $117 million bond payment to go through in dollars. This is what we provided sanctions on, okay? According to the Treasury spokesperson, U.S. sanctions on doing business with Russia's central bank won't block them from making payments to Americans on dollar-denominated debt until after midnight on May 25th. So the U.S. sanctions actually haven't kicked in yet. Interesting. And something we also learned just recently is that Russia can't allow this war to drag on. And here's why. because we know that Russia is already limited with their resources, and many expect that they're actually going to run out of resources by the middle to end of May, maybe even sooner. So the US is expecting that Russia will make nuclear threats, and this is something that I thought it's very serious, but they will make nuclear threats if the war drags on too much longer. And according to the Defense Intelligence Agency, Russia will resort to nuclear deterrence as a way to signal strength. So just understand that this could just be one of the things that they're going to do is they're just going to say and provide nuclear threats, but they may not do anything about it. Hopefully they won't. But again, we just don't know. It is something that we will continue to monitor, and I will provide updates on that anytime we get them. But here's what we know. The hard part about what is going on right now in Ukraine is that Ukraine is getting hit hard. According to their morgue director in Kharkiv, he stated that they need more body bags or plastic wrap, as there are no more coffins left in the city, and dead bodies need to go back to their families and loved ones. That is crazy that there's no more coffins left. They need more body bags. They don't even have enough. People are just laying there in the streets or in rubble because there's nowhere for them to go. So that's what we know at this time. As always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on, share all latest news and updates. If you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.